Hey guys, welcome to Cinephiles, the place where we talk about movies and TV. I'm your host Rehan Gore, and throughout the first season, I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite movies from the 1970s. With that down and out of the way, let's get into our first movie. It's the 4th of May, so naturally, we will be talking about Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Happy Star Wars Day everyone, let's get into the movie. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, or just Star Wars, as it was called when it was released back in 1977, is a classic. It stars Mark Hamill as our protagonist Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford as the charming scoundrel Han Solo, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia Organa, renowned actor Alec Guinness as Ben Kenobi, and James Earl Jones as the voice of the menacing villain, Darth Vader. The film was written and directed by George Lucas and nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Alec Guinness. Out of those 11, the film won 7 Oscars, including Best Original Score for legendary film composer John Williams. To truly understand the importance of the film in the sci-fi genre and in cinema in general, we need to understand that there was nothing really like it before. It was the first of its kind and inspired countless others. Star Wars was a cultural explosion that came out of nowhere. It's a movie that both kids and adults adored. Star Wars is an epic space fantasy like no other. With that covered, let's get into the good. Star Wars is a movie that blends genres that no one thought would work. It starts off as a fairy tale that's set in space. That in and of itself is an interesting premise, but then it goes on to become the sprawling space epic with empires and rebellions. There are governmental ideas and parallels to the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, but also has laser swords and a bald robot that talks. George Lucas created a film that pulled in different ideas from different genres and had its own interest in modern politics. It's easy to forget that when Star Wars came out, it was so unique and distinct from everything else. He managed to make a popular film which revolutionized the film industry that's also a space fairy tale, a modern retelling of timeless mythology, and also has laser swords. It's so many different things all at once, but it feels consistent. If you think about the creation that is the original Star Wars and all the things it's trying to be and succeeds in, it's outstanding. It could have fumbled right out of the gate, but it was a game changer. It brought millions of people together and continues to get people talking and going to the theatre. That is the magic. That is the original Star Wars. Rewatching it for the purpose of this review, Star Wars is a film that's engaging throughout the runtime, but in very different ways throughout the movie. What makes it exciting at the start isn't what captures you in the end. You start the movie in the midst of a huge intergalactic battle with space politics, and then you go on to a small planet and see the world through the eyes of a teenager. We get into this huge world, and then it gets very human 15 minutes into the film when Luke Skywalker shows up, and suddenly there's this relatable person that dreams of bigger things like so many of us have done inside our lives, and it's engaging and interesting on this whole other level. Lucas touched on so many different things in a world of big world action, excitement, mysterious villains, while also incorporating a coming of age story. The cast is perfect. The characters are some of the coolest, funniest and most tragic you'll see, and the actors who play them fit perfectly into this universe. Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi is amazing. Harrison Ford is brilliant as Han Solo. Carrie Fisher's portrayal of Leia is badass, and Mark Hamill gets overlooked a lot, but him as Luke Skywalker is perfect. David Prowse physically portrays Darth Vader brilliantly. His screen presence, along with James Earl Jones' iconic voice, are a key part to why he is the most feared man in the galaxy. As soon as Vader shows up on screen, you feel his presence. Everyone knows he's the baddest guy in the room, and you can't help but be captivated by him. You hold on to every word he says, and this is because of James Earl Jones' iconic voice. That can never be forgotten. Throughout the years, Vader has grown to become one of, if not the most feared cinematic villain of all time, and it all started in this film when he shows up at the beginning. To this day, whenever you hear Darth Vader's iconic breathing on screen, you get goosebumps. Other memorable performances include Peter Cushing as the villainous Grand Moff Tarkin and Anthony Daniels as the voice of the droid C-3PO. John Williams is just fantastic once again. His score captures your imagination perfectly, and when you think of perfect scores, this is certainly one that comes to mind. A bunch of John Williams scores too, but this one is special. Everyone knows the opening theme for Star Wars. Of course, it's iconic. But he gives everyone their own individual theme as you go into the film, and all of them are memorable and catchy. While maybe not on the level as his score for Jaws, John Williams provides another masterpiece of a score that fits in perfectly. This was not only the beginning of one of the best and most financially successful franchises ever, but it was the beginning of a new age of cinema. Star Wars brought in a whole bunch of movie fans and got younger audiences and older audiences alike to fall in love with movies. George Lucas's bizarre fantasy had all sorts of odds stacked up against it, but it took the whole world by storm. We would not be in the world we are in now without Star Wars, and certainly wouldn't have the type of movies we have. Star Wars was a cultural phenomenon that brought people together and is still bringing people together. It was an industry-changing project that revolutionized how films were made. If we are talking about iconic movies from the 70s, the best place to start is Star Wars. That's it for today, everyone. I hope you liked it, and if you did, it would mean a lot if you could give us some ratings and reviews on whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcasts on, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. You can also check out my YouTube channel in the show notes below. Thank you so much for staying all the way through this week's episode, and I hope you join me for next week's episode where we will be talking about another iconic classic, Superman the movie.